One thing I noticed, like, sounds like me chew very loud.
Oh, you noticed that? Really?
Like the mic picks it up though. Like the mic picks it up, you can
So
hear
you can hear what I
it.
hear. You can hear the loud.
Oh, look at this!
What is that?
Fucking rotten fucking strawberry in the pack. And I touched it and it was all gooey and shit. Nasty.
Ew.
So yeah, like I was saying, I'm super happy that we did this talk, and what really gave me boost of confidence, like I was saying, is like the topic that we were covering. Like it was not a topic that like a lot of people knew,
Yeah.
so it was kind of really like, oh, okay, wow, okay, I'm gonna show people, I'm gonna teach some
Something new.
new, right? But at the same time, with that pressure of like making sure that the topic is coming off.
It's easy to understand.
Yeah, I think that was going through my head, but
Yeah. That's the thing. Like like I was saying before, like we take for granted the things that we know, because we know it, we feel like it's like a no-brainer and everybody else knows it, but they don't.
hmm
Obviously, there are other people who know the things that we know. Like we don't know the things we know are not like super super unique because we learned them from somewhere. But not everybody knows these things,
hmm
so it was really cool that no one everyone knew the topic, and we were really adding value and bringing something new to the conversation. And everybody, a lot of people were coming up to us afterwards and saying how much they appreciated our talk. And
hmm
oh, that's the best part. But I don't know, like I was still kind of nervous after because I wasn't sure. Usually when we do talks, after the talk, I feel super good. But after this talk, I felt a little unsure for some reason because I wasn't sure if,
if it cuts through properly.
yeah, like if it was like delivered properly or everyone fully understood.
Everyone was taking notes in the crowd.
Yeah, everyone was, I think our talk was there was a lot of information. It was very informative,
Yeah, it was very
very
informative.
practical information. It wasn't like just inspirational, motivational stuff.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? Like, I wouldn't say it's crazy, but like I said, like you saw me, I was super nervous,
I know.
anxious
I don't think
about
I've seen
it.
you that nervous
You know?
to do a talk before. I was also nervous. Was I as nervous as you?
Nah, I
I
think
wasn't.
I was very like,
He was like, you were rehearsing like
yeah,
over and over and over again, and I was like, to me, practicing too much throws me off because then I feel like I have to know to say the things by heart, and then that throws me
mm-mm.
off.
I wasn't trying to memorize what I needed to say by
Mm-hmm.
heart. It was more of like, because I know the topic was very it could come off as very intense, and I want to make sure that I remember what was the exact takeaway for each point I wanted to get, so I
Yeah.
don't ramble on and say things that's gonna confuse people. So I think it was just that, but
Yeah.
like, coming back to what we were talking about before about this whole anxiety, because like I get anxious about doing these type of speaking engagements and speaking to the crowd
Same.
and stuff like that. Like that doesn't go away, but like I feel like that's a feeling that I kind of chase, like just because I feel anxious about something and I feel like, oh my God, like nervous about something, to me, I see that as a sign of why I should do it. So like that's why I don't avoid doing talks or even, reach out to people and be like, oh, like it would be cool if we could be part of talks and stuff like that. Like I do that because I'm like, yo, you know what? Like I want to train myself to get better at that. Although it's very like nerve wracking and it's very like,
You're
oh
really
my God.
crazy for that. Like, I don't do that, but I do it because I'm with you. I if I wasn't with you, I wouldn't put myself in these positions, in
hmm
these situations, because it stresses me out so much.
think a lot of us avoid these type of
Yeah, I
situations.
really don't like it. We come off as confident or whatever, but like we're always super nervous when we do these things. And I was asking another speaker, Emily Cohen, who was also there, and she's been speaking for 30 years. And I was like, "Do you still get nervous?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Damn, like okay,
And she still does it.
this is never gonna go away. That's annoying, but also good to know that it's like a universal thing, and
And she still does it.
you
I
just have
think
to do it. You just have to push through the nerves."
I think that's the most important thing. She still does it. You don't run away from things that make you anxious and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think you should run towards the stuff that make you feel uncomfortable and just kind of like, I don't know. Because I feel like for us, every single time we did that, like positive do come from that.
Yeah. What is it? There's like this saying. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's like something like everything that you want is at the other side of fear.
Yeah.
That's real.
Mm-hmm.
That is very real. Because you feel more confident afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like anyone can do this. Literally anyone can do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes like when I'm talking to my sister, she'll be like, "Oh, I can't believe like that you do this. Like you're way more confident than I am." I'm like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah.
I'm really not. Like she's like, "Yeah, you are, because you're still doing it." I'm like, "No, like I feel the same way that you probably would feel."
Yeah.
Exactly the same way.
Probably even
But
worse sometimes.
Yeah. But I still do it. I absolutely hate doing it, but I still do it. And I think it's like the still doing it doesn't mean that like you're more confident. It's just like you're just pushing yourself to do something that you're scared of.
You're pushing yourself to the unknown.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
But literally anyone can do it. Anyone
Yeah.
can do it. Like it's just, people who just feel like
it's simple,
there's like
but
mental
not
barriers. Yeah, it's simple, but it's not easy. There's mental barriers of like, oh, I'm not ready, or I can't, or I don't have anything good to say, or da da da. And that's literally how I feel. I feel exactly the same way. Like, oh, I'm not ready to do that, or like, oh, does the stuff I have to say really have value?
Mhm.
Like, is this really going to be interesting for people? Am I even speaking properly? Like, all those things that most people probably would think.
Yeah.
We're thinking those exact same things.
It's crazy. I don't think like
it.
that.
Okay, that's how I think though.
Because I know for a fact that the stuff that we have to say is very interesting. It's
you have more confidence than me.
I have confidence in that. I guess my doubt and my anxiety comes from the fact of I don't feel like I could explain very well certain thoughts and concepts that I don't word them properly at times. I feel like I could over explain where to a point where it might not come off properly, or I don't give enough information to really understand what I'm trying to say. So I what's that word? I overthink when it comes to that. So that's where my anxiousness comes from.
That's why you practice a lot to make sure that you're saying it in the way that like
exactly
okay, we're gonna understand what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's where my thing. But in terms of like the content itself being relevant to people and it's something that's meaningful and people care what I gotta say, I don't doubt that. That's one thing I don't doubt. I know for a fact. Because I feel like we have a very interesting perspective. I know I have a very interesting perspective.
My fear is like doing a talk, because I hate when I go to conferences and I'm like, I could have learned this on YouTube. Or it's like, I already know this. That's my fear. Yeah. That's why like when we go into talk, that's why I was so happy when like we're like, oh, does anybody know what we're talking about? And they're like, no, I never heard of this before.
Yeah.
I was happy.
But we live in an era right now where it's not really about the message, it's more about the messenger. So yeah, they could go learn that on YouTube, but the fact that it came from you, someone who might be younger than the other person on YouTube, someone who don't look like the traditional person who's talking about this topic, it might just add more value to the message that's being shared, right?
Yeah, it feels, I guess, more like relatable.
Yeah, because like for example, I watch like fitness influencers on YouTube who like just about like training, exercise, and stuff like that. And a lot of them say the same thing, but
Right.
there's particular ones that I take their information in more just because of the messenger.
Because you
Like
respect them,
mhm.
or like you see yourself in them.
Yeah, or I feel more relatable to them and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's not really about like the message. Yes, is important, but the person who's delivering the message as well matters.
How did you feel during the conference while we were doing it?
Okay.
Like, okay, for those who don't know, go in, have this little animation that plays with our pictures on the screen, and then we walk in, and the projector, the screen is black because the computer fell asleep. So it was super awkward. I had to go. Nobody else's like screens were like that, and
Hmm.
it's because they put their settings so that the computer doesn't go to sleep, but they didn't tell us that. So we go on stage and the computer's asleep, and I have to fucking put the password in, and like I didn't put the password in properly. I had to put it in twice, and then finally I was like, technical difficulties, awkward. But after that, I think it went well. But I was
Yeah.
still okay. So with that in mind, like how did you feel? Like
While I was doing it, you know, me it's funny because anytime we do talks, I like to do the intro. I feel
yeah,
very comfortable doing the intro.
you. It's okay. I'm happy if you break the ice.
I like doing the intro. And me for this talk, it was just like I have to nail the intro properly. Once I nailed the intro, it was a roll. Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
felt
yeah,
good.
yeah. It was a roll. It was a roll. It was a roll. It was rough.
I felt my voice be a little bit shaky when I first started
Yeah,
talking,
mine too.
and then it was okay. And there was a moment where you finished your point, and there was something that I would have added, but I forgot it. So I just skipped to the next slide and continued because I'm like, if I stand here and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to
Yeah,
add.
yeah,
Like
open.
that would
Yeah.
have been like broken the flow. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna add my 2 cents here. I'm just gonna go straight to the next point. And yeah, and there was also a moment where I was talking and I forgot like where I was trying to take it.
For real? I didn't
Yeah,
notice
you didn't
that.
notice it? It was like when we were talking about like how it breaks down silos, and I was like kind of going in at the end of that point. I was kind of going in circles and repeating the same thing, and then I found my footing and ended it off with the point that I wanted to make.
Hmm.
But it's like little subtle things that only you know. People
Yeah.
watching don't know.
No, I feel like yeah, I felt good. I think the thing that made me feel even better is when they did not know the term facilitator. So for the ones who don't know, like our talk was about uh, how designers could implement facilitation into their design process. And it's something that's becoming very popular in the industry, in the design industry as a whole. And it was very, and the talk that we did is mostly for designers and things of that nature and
Creatives.
creators. So it's very interesting when we I had a slide that was literally called "What the fuck is a facilitator?" and I was going to kind of explain what that means. And I was just hoping that at least there might be a few people who know what that means. And there was literally no one. Although there's one or a few people came up after and they're like, "Yeah, it's something I already heard before." Probably some of them were scared to raise their hands, but when I asked them, like, "Oh, who in the crowd has already heard of this term?"
In the context of design.
It was
No
crickets, and I was like,
one.
"For real? Okay, wow, okay, all right, cool." Now I felt good that I'm gonna teach them something new,
Yeah.
So that felt very
Yeah.
good, because I didn't want to spend, because sometimes you could go to talks and stuff like that, and it's like, like you're teaching me something that I already know.
Yeah, that's why I'm like that's my fear is I want to make sure that the stuff we're talking about is actually going to spark something new in the people that we're sharing with. But
Hmm.
then again, that fear, you could say the most basic shit ever, and there's gonna be somebody who never heard it before.
Yeah, for
It's
sure,
gonna be new to someone,
for
like
sure.
especially if like the people in the crowd, maybe they're younger or they're just starting out or whatever, like the basics for you are new to someone.
Mm-hmm. That was good. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I like doing talks. I feel like it's a good way to practice public speaking. It's a good way to
Mm-hmm.
also to show that you actually master your craft too. Like,
Mm.
you know, a big part of the reason why Ash and I do these type of conferences and things of that nature, like it's a lot in like we do a handful within our industry, but it's also to just build up our credibility, right? Like I think there is something about that, like us just kind of like becoming leaders in the design space about talking about the stuff that we're talking about and our
Mm-hmm.
perspective. I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I think this is cool, and you know, like we get to travel too about it. We get to travel, which
I
is
know,
cool.
like that's the only opportunity we have to travel is in the context of work, which kind of sucks because I can't fully enjoy the trip because I'm just stressed and anxious the entire time until
Hmm.
until the
Yeah,
conference is over, until our session is done. Then I can relax. So it's like, I
yeah.
love that we're traveling, but I hate that I'm nervous.
Hmm. Yeah, in a more like usually we would have extended the trip, but unfortunately we couldn't do this for this time around. But like our next one's gonna be in Brooklyn. I think it would be more cooler for us to move around and see.
Yeah, I wonder how it's gonna be to do because the talk is gonna be very similar. There might be like some slight tweaks. I wonder how it's gonna be to do it again, like after
Uh,
having already done it once. I wonder what
yeah,
that's gonna be like to do it a second time.
I would change it up a bit, just
Yeah.
slightly. Yeah.
I think I need to go back and look at like the
Hmm.
title of the talk because
Hmm.
it's different. So I think there's a slight nuance.
Hmm.
It's similar themes, but we can nuance it a bit.
Hmm. But yeah, we kicked ass
Yeah.
as usual.
Yeah, yeah.
We kicked ass as usual.